You're listening to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show, a podcast that discusses the intricacies of real estate investing with your host, Marcus E. Maloney. Marcus is a real estate investor best known for being the equity king. He's been awarded that moniker because he and his team find amazing real estate deals. He will be talking with investors who have done some transformational things in the real estate industry. They'll discuss their process, their strategies, and how their investments transform their lives and the communities they invest in. We welcome you to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show.
The people that invested in me, that means the world to me. That means the world to me because I helped them grow, but they helped me grow.
Yeah.
They helped me grow. And then every time, if I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teaching other people how to build these companies, well, guess what? I've become surgical.
The We Love Equity Show is brought to you by W.L.E.R.E, widely recognized as an outstanding resource for real estate investors with exceptional education, networking, and support, along with profit-enhancing benefits in all aspects of real estate investing. Visit W.L.E.R.E at www.azrea.org. That's visit W.L.E.R.E at www.azrea.org. All right, what up? We Love Equity listeners, how you guys doing today? I'm excited about our guest. Our guest is really nationally known and on the brinks of being that international known superstar. So I have Carlos Reyes. Carlos Reyes with All In Nation, based out of right here in Glendale, Arizona. He's doing some fabulous things, amazing things, rose up through the ranks of real estate investing pretty quickly, but his story was not a quick story. So guys, don't believe that everything is done instantaneously and overnight. So we're going to get into Carlos' backstory, and I got some really good questions that I want him to answer. And guys, so buckle up, place your seatbelts on. We're going to go on a ride. So Carlos Reyes, man, welcome to the show. How you doing?
My brother, I'm glad that we're making this possible. And was that the crowd noise?
Go ahead, man. Okay. You good.
Man, I'm excited, brother. I heard great things, not only about you, but about your show through some of my staff. And I'm excited to serve the people today because I know that ultimately that is your number one priority and that's why your podcast is growing the way it has been, because you put a lot of emotion, thought, and love, right, behind your message, and we're aligning. So I'm excited about today. Thank you for having me.
There we go. And you guys know it's nothing like having a guest on and a real estate investors that you kind of gel and mesh with and that you align with. And right now, me and Carlos, we are in the same market, haven't actually met yet, but we know that that's coming real soon. So
you got to come down, brother. How about this? I'm traveling. So this Sunday I'm speaking, man. People are going to think it's crazy, but there's about 2,000 people in Atlanta. You got named DJ Envy. He's a host of.
Yeah.
He hosts the Breakfast Club. I've never watched the show. Yep. Yeah, I've never watched the show, but I hear that it's like a pretty good show. Well, he's a huge. What people don't know is that he's a huge real estate investor, and one of my really good friends is his business partner. His name is Cesar Pina, and man, they're doing crazy commercial deals. Okay, so they're touring this year, and I happen to be the guy that they wanted to. They're giving me about a 45-minute to an hour slot on every show. So this to kind of get the message out there on how to win in real estate from nothing with zero. So I'm that guy. I'm the guy that's there's gonna be, again, we're doing 2 shows in New Jersey in May because there's thousands of people, and the state, they're only allowing a certain amount of people in the building. So we're doing 1 show this Sunday in Atlanta, and then at the end of the month, we're going to Orlando. And then early May, we're doing New Jersey, the tri-state area, and we're doing 2 shows because there's going to be about 3,000 in 1 show and 2,000. So in 1 day, we'll probably hit about 5,000 people.
There you go.
I was going to tell you, circling back around to what I was saying was, yes, I'm traveling this week. Next week, I'm flying to Dallas, Texas to be on the Darren Woodson podcast. Okay. Darren Woodson used to be
Cowboy.
Cowboy. So I'm a Cowboys fan, and this is a blessing for me. My father-in-law, who he was around during the golden era of the Cowboys, he's a huge Darren Woodson fan. So I'm going to surprise my father-in-law by taking him with me to meet Darren Woodson at his podcast. I think he's going to cry, and that's okay. You know,
that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. But nonetheless, after these next 2 weeks, brother, you and I got to set up where you just come down to the office and let me show you around.
Okay, perfect, okay. Man. We'll schedule that and get a date on the calendar for that, man. But what you said right there was very, very key, and I hope everybody touched on that and realize that. But real estate is not just for us personally, but you taking your father-in-law the opportunity to meet one of his heroes.
Absolutely,
one of his heroes. That wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for you and if it wasn't for real estate and God above, naturally. So, guys, you got to remember, it's not just about the money, but it's about the experiences.
Man.
And this is what Carlos is giving people an opportunity to experience.
Absolutely, brother. Amen, man. I couldn't have said it out any better. Thank God, man. Glory to God, for sure.
Yep. So tell me, Carlos, give us a little backstory of who you are, man, and what you're doing. Because for those who may not know, kind of lay the foundation for us, how you came over, how you got started in real estate. So just give us that story.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to keep it under 2 minutes, but actually it's crazy. Look, I have a picture of my mother and myself in Mexico right there, right?
There you go.
I literally have it right here, like right there, because I try to keep pictures around. It grounds me where I come from. I was born into extreme poverty in Mexico, and a lot of people can't imagine what that even looks like. I'll tell you what, I didn't have any running water or any electricity until the 6th grade. Okay.
Wow.
With the exception of my mother wanting more for her children. So my mom, first and foremost, she left my father because he was a drug addict, a coke addict. He drank a lot and he was abusive. And when I was 2 years old, he put me and my mother against the wall and started literally shooting at us.
Wow.
So my mom was like, okay, well, I'm going to die here. And so are my kids if I stay with this man. So then she left him to my grandma's house in another city in Mexico, which was a worse city as far as the poverty level. So now, brother, we're living. We got dirt floors. We got laminate roofing. It's like laminate roofing. Like you can hear every drop when it rains. We got dirt floors. We got no running water, no electricity. We got dirt roads. And the way that we would get water is my grandmother would have these huge buckets in the front yard. So whenever the water man would come around, he had a truck, and he had this huge pod, this container of water, and then he would fill our buckets in the front, these huge buckets. They're about 3 to 4 feet, and then we would get our water from there for the whole week until the next time he came around. That's the way I live. So we didn't have any electricity, so my grandmother used gas lamps throughout the house. And the way that she would cook is through firewood and rocks. And we had this little section of about, 3 feet 5 feet, 5 by 5, where my grandfather put this little section in the corner of cement and a little drain and a curtain. And that's where we would actually shower. My grandmother would take the cold water from outside, warm some of it up, mix it in a bucket, and then out of that bucket, we had a little bucket that we would shower.
Yeah.
That was my childhood. In the backyard, we had a washing board where my grandma and my mother would wash our clothes. We had hangers, like rods, like lines of metallic lines running across the backyard with these little wooden clips. That's how we would hang our clothes. And then my grandfather also built a back house where, with his bare hands, it was like a wooden back house with inside, it's a little bit of a lift. There's a hole, and that's where we would use the restroom. That was my childhood. And the first time my mother saw, she's like, "Hey, my children they're not going to be anything here. The future isn't very promising here." So my mother had the vision and the courage, and that's where I get all my hustle and all my skill set from her. Is she had the vision and the courage to say, "Hey, I'm going to make the sacrifice. I'm going to cross over to the United States of America. I'm going to leave you with your grandmother." And brother, that lasted for 2 years. I remember, man, I was like first grade, second grade. I was about 5 years old. And I remember her not being there for 2 years. And I remember having a picture just like this. And I used to sleep with this under my pillow as a 5-year-old kid. And I went through some tough nights. I went through some tough nights, a lot of emotion, a lot of crying, and I didn't know. I didn't know why my mom had left. I didn't know when you're a child, what do you need? You need your mom's love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my grandma would sit there and be like, son, she went to the United States because she's trying to make a better life for you guys. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, what does that mean? I don't care about that. Now, as an adult, I understand. Yeah, but back then, brother, I mean, it felt like she had abandoned us, and it was like 2 years, and we would get phone calls with her. We had a neighbor across the freaking road, and he had a phone. He had like a home phone. So on Fridays at 5 p.m., my mother would call the neighbor's phone for us to imagine being little kids and just like 5 p.m. Friday, I get to hear from my mother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the first time that she crossed us over was through a sewer system in San Isidro, Mexico, next to the Tijuana-San Diego border. And she crossed us over through a sewer system. We lasted 3rd grade, 4th grade, and a little bit of the 5th grade. California was way too expensive. We failed. And we had to go back to Mexico. And on the way back to Mexico, I mean, you could only imagine how discouraged we were. Think about that. 2 years without my mom as a child, going through a sewer system, coming to another country, being illegal, not speaking another language, getting made fun, like people calling me wetback and like all the, like, it was rough.
Right.
It was rough, bro. I mean, and now we're going back to poverty. But it's, man, my mom's spirit, brother, when I tell you, like, she's a warrior, man. Like this lady's a warrior. That's why, praise the Lord, man. I retired her in 2017. April of 2017 is when I retired her. That was one of the biggest milestones of my life. I retired. My mom, brother, doesn't have to work, and she doesn't need anything. I give her monthly allowance. I pay for her phone bill, her car, her mortgage, her insurance. Like, everything's taken care of now, right? Because guess what? She deserves it. She deserves it. Man. I was her retirement plan, and I'm okay with that. But what? Back to, this is how she's a warrior. We go back. Her and I have a meeting. At this point, I'm in the 3rd grade, and we have a little meeting. I remember there's a little meeting, and she goes, "Hey, keep your head up. We're not going to be here too long. We're not going to be here too, because, man, like, me and my brother, like, we were crying like every day. Think about it. We go from extreme poverty, no electricity, no water, dirt floors. Like, we had dirt floors. I don't think people even understand what that is. Man. To now we get a little taste of milk and honey. Yeah. We're in an apartment, we're in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's carpets, there's drywall, there's a toilet. I'm like, man, I died and I'm in heaven.
You guys crossed over to the promised land.
Man, the land of milk and honey. So and imagine, bro, now we got a little taste. Now, see, when we were poor and we didn't know any better, ignorance is bliss. We were like, oh, this is normal. This is normal. This is normal life. But now we come over to the States and we see like what's possible. We go back. And it's like someone took everything from you again. So we go back and she says, hey, we're not going to be here too long. And as a little kid, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? How are we going to get back? I'm illegal. My brother's illegal. How are we going to get back? And she's like, well, I'm going to work at the resort. It was called Loma Linda in San Carlos Bay, Mexico. I'm going to work at the resort. I'm going to clean rooms. And then you're going to go grab a job at the grocery store and be a grocery bagger. So, man, and when I'm telling you, brother, that at this point, I know a little English. So I went to work at this grocery store by a resort, like an American resort. So Americans would come in, and I'm bagging groceries. I got my little apron, my little hat. I'm bagging the groceries. I'm putting it in a cart. I'm taking it out to their car. I'm putting it away in their trunks. And they're breaking me off $1, $2. Man, brother, you don't understand how much $1 was back then in the mid-90s. Think about it. $1. My mother used to make 120 pesos a week. Okay, do you understand what that is? Okay, back then it was $10 a peso. $10. 10 pesos per dollar. Let me do the math here. My mom was making 120 pesos, 120 divided by 10. She was making $12 a week. I was making 30 pesos. I was making $3 a day. $3 a day.
Yeah, so he was the breadwinner.
Man, I'm in elementary school, and I'm there. It is. I'm the head of my household.
Yep.
I'm the head of my house. I'm the man of the house now. As a child, not even a teenager. So anyway, we use my money, not her. We use her money to survive, and we use my money to save. And we were saving for her to make her way back to the States. So I save enough. She saves enough money. She gets on a bus. She comes to Phoenix. Another year. But now we know the routine. She brings me first. She pays a guy $25 to jump me through a fence in Nogales, Sonora. And then we make our way up. And in 1997, she starts fixing my immigration paperwork. And then I got my work permit years later. And then I got a permanent residence. And then 5 years after that, I got my citizen. I became a citizen of this country.
Wow.
And then, brother, I worked corporate America for a little while. And I was like, hey, I don't like the limitations here. I don't like the limit. Like, I don't want to work for 40 years or 60 years just to have enough to survive when I'm old.
Right.
So I said, so what am I going to do? I went back to my childhood mindset, back to my childhood heart. And I'm like, man, I'm going to go start my own business.
Yep, got to make it happen.
And brother, during that time, I was broke. I thought to be a real estate investor, you got to have X amount of money, X amount of credit, X amount of knowledge.
Yep.
And not, brother, I read a book called Flip by Nick Ruiz. Flip by Nick Ruiz. It was a $10 book. I could not afford his course. So every time that my brother, by the way, he was a mentor to me that became a brother to me. And I had him speak at one of my events, and there was another milestone for me. This is a man I look up to.
Yep,
I respect how he carries himself with his family and as a businessman. I love that man. Literally, brother, like my heroes became my friends. And anyway, I read this book, and every time he would do a free webinar, I'm writing because I'm trying to get all this knowledge. And this book changed my life. So his book was the first book I ever read in my life.
Okay.
Then I read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And then that book changed. You have to understand, brother, people like us, no one tells us to read books at an early age. You know what I mean?
Yep.
No one tells us about education, financial education, personal development. No one tells us these things.
You know, is this something, Carlos, innate in entrepreneurs that says, I'm going to dig and I'm going to find that gold. I'm going to find it wherever it is. So if it's me reading a book, or if it's me connecting with a hero, if it's me reaching out to a certain person, I'm going to do that. But one of the things that you were saying was coming from Mexico over here to the States, being an immigrant. I'm a first generation immigrant myself. I got my dad's Panamanian flag behind me. And that was one thing that I lost it when I was little, but I'm getting back. Okay. I'm getting back on it. So don't hold it against me, Carlos. Right. So yeah, what he was saying was there's so much opportunity here, but the people that were born and raised here don't often see that opportunity. But the immigrants that come in, they see all of the opportunity because they lived in houses with dirt floors. They lived in shanty towns and things like that. So man, I give kudos to the immigrants that come over and they hustle. I mean, and they start with absolutely nothing, just like you.
Brother, I'll tell you this, man. I came to take advantage what people take for granted.
Yep.
Period. You know what I mean? So
that's good, man. Say that again. Say that again.
Man, I came to take advantage of what many people here in the country take for granted.
There you go.
Really? That was my mindset. Brother, I'm over there bagging groceries, doing door-to-door bread sales in Mexico. When I came here, I'm like, man, there is so much opportunity. Like, where do I even start?
Yep.
So back to me want to be my dream. In the 8th grade, they made me write what I wanted to do for the rest of my life as a career. I was like, I either want to be a Navy SEAL, a police officer, a lawyer, or a real estate investor. All right. Well, guess which one paid the most, right? I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to become a real estate investor? I got no money, no credit, no knowledge. And then I pick up this book, Flip, and then I discover wholesaling. Yep. I'm like, wait a minute. All I got to do is find these properties. I got to find motivated sellers. I don't need money. Brother, I did my first few deals with no LLC, no money, no credit, of course. Yep. And I'll tell you what, I put out 2,400 bandit signs, got my first deal, and made $5,000. And remember, in corporate America, $5,000 was like, man, I just got paid for a whole month for doing that.
Yep.
So I'm like, I got to do that again. Because once you do it once, you got that proof of concept in your brain. Something just clicks and shifts. I can do that 1,000 times. And at this point, I'm thinking about $5,000. Now I got a deal in Berkeley, California that's going to pay me $507,000 net next month. See, it's like I'm so far apart now from obviously where I started. I mean, but nonetheless, I read those books. I got my first deal. And then what I did with the $5,000 is I invested that into direct mail. I spent $2,500 into direct mail. And man, again, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to run comparables. I didn't really know much about contracts. I didn't know much about title agencies, but I knew hustle and I knew how to talk to people and I knew how to make it happen. So, brother, I sent out I put together a $2,500 mail campaign. I put a $2,500 mail campaign. Tell me why I got 4 deals and I made $60,000 wholesale fees. My first $2,500 spent. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I never made that much money in my life in 30 days. Then I'm like, well, let me do that again. I put another $2,500 in a direct mail campaign, made $30,000. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I just spent the $5,000 that I made. I spent it and made $90,000.
There you go.
So now I take $7,500 of that and put it into, this is late 2015, early 2016. I'm like, well, now I'm going to do digital marketing. Google pay-per-click, ads, AdWords. And then I make July of 2016, I put $7,500 into PPC. I make $123,000 in July of 2016.
Wow.
And the game changed.
So let me ask you this, Carlos. Okay. Going back to that first thought of, all right, I'm going to leave this corporate job and I'm going to take off and I'm going to
by the way, scariest thing I ever had to do for everybody out there that's listening.
And that's what I wanted to scrape off the top, get that foam off the top, and let's go to the bottom. And because of that fear, that's where a lot of people are. There are a lot of people that say, well, I got a mortgage to pay, I got rent, car note, bills, so on and so forth.
I got a wife, I got kids. My family's telling me not to do it. They're telling me, what are you doing? No 401k, no IRA, no health insurance, right?
Yep.
I went through all of that, brother. I was scared out of my mind. I will say that.
So how big of a part did your faith play a part in that, man? Because it's we all go through it. We all have to take that leap. But how did you deal with it?
Brother, if it wasn't for my faith, I probably wouldn't have been able to push through it because I was so scared. Like I was in fear. You have to remember, I went from like immigrant, high tolerance for risk to Americanized, corporate, comfortable, show up, clock in, get paid. And then now I have to dissolve all that. So for the first few months, I had to really press on the Father. One, I knew that I didn't have the strength or the capacity. So I'm like, I'm going to press on the Father. And I started pressing on God. And I started talking to myself. It was all mindset for me. It was like, when you make it through this, you're going to fly. When you make it through, because the thoughts that were coming in, I was entertaining them a little bit. They're coming in. They're like, oh man, the mortgage is right around the corner. You don't have no deals, right?
Yep.
Right. You got a wife. You got your baby girl. You got these car payments, these insurance payments. And I'm like, I'm like, what? No, I'm going to make it through this, Father. I'm going to make it through this. And when I do, I'm going to fly. I'm going to fly. I'll tell you this, the first 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months of you going all in on yourself, those are the toughest months. But when you make it through that, there's no going back. Why? And you'll appreciate this because when we bet on ourselves, when you bet on yourself, God goes all in with you, baby.
Yep.
When you bet on yourself, God goes all in with you. And that's what people don't understand. The reflection of the reflection of your own personal faith and certainty is literally a reflection of your belief in the Father. Think about that.
That's true.
Where there's faith, there shouldn't be fear. because it's either faith or fear. It's either growth or comfort. There's no in between.
Yeah.
So anyway,
no, man, you're on the right track, because the majority of it is mindset. Carlos, it's not money. Like you said, you got started with nothing. I got started with $200 in a First Premier credit card. And people that know First Premier credit card, that's for people that have bad credit. So there's many similarities, but it's that mindset that puts you in the right frame and perspective.
It's not for everybody, but for everybody.
Opportunities. It's not. And it's not because, and I tell people, if you're used to and you're good, you're comfortable at doing what you're doing, stay. Yep.
And you're happy, brother, in this lifetime, man, happiness is the ultimate success. Like I've known I've known people that are worth 300, 500, 700 million dollars, and they're miserable.
Yep.
Families are broken apart. Everybody hates them. People think they're egotistical, prideful, selfish. And then I've seen people that, like my father-in-law, who probably makes, I don't know, 60, 70K a year for the city of Phoenix. And he's happier than a bug in the rug. He's happy. He has a beautiful family. He's a great husband, a great grandfather, right? A great father. And he's happy. Right? So again, I don't want people out there to have to like compare and compete. If you want more out of your life, then go ahead and do this. But if you're happy, and you're like, I don't want this, I'm good here. There's nothing wrong with that either.
That's true. Very true. People always put an emphasis on money equates happiness, and that's definitely
what we thought. That's what we thought at one point.
It's definitely not
right.
The case.
When I'm rich,
exactly.
I will have no problems. Right.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, but the true art of happiness, like you said, Carlos, is taking your father-in-law to see Darren Woodson. I mean, that's happiness right there for your father-in-law. He's good. He's making $70K a year, working for the city, got a pension, everything like that. Family is good. Everybody's in good health. That's happiness for him. Where someone else may say, okay, well, I want to exceed and go beyond that. And that's okay too. But don't equate happiness with the dollar amount, guys. That's the wrong thought process.
Amen.
So Carlos, tell me, man. So you took this leap of faith. You took this $2,500, or you put out these 2,500
2,400 bandit signs 6 months.
Man,
guess what? Every bandit sign that I put on the ground, I had so much faith. This is the one. This is the one. This is the one, Father. I never lost momentum. I never lost purpose. I never did it with like discouragement. And I'm just very grateful for that, man, because I probably would have given up.
So you had said getting started, you got the bandit signs. You didn't know anything about contracts. You didn't know anything about running comps. You didn't have a title company, everything like that. How did you find these things? And I'm asking you this because there's a lot of people out there that say the same thing. They make those same excuses. Well, I don't know. Where can
I?
How do I? Go ahead. Fill us in.
Rough draft moves. Rough draft moves. I just kept going forward. I was literally earning and learning, like earning and learning and burning. Like I was just like, look at this, brother. I even wrote my own book.
There you go.
The best wholesaling book ever. And by the way, for anybody that's listening, I'll give this book for free. Go to bestreibook.com. I don't want you to go to Amazon and buy it for $20. Download it straight to your phone, bestreibook.com. And when I'm telling you that a book changed my life, that inspired me to write this book, the best wholesaling book ever. Because why? Man, I can't, brother, I'm gonna try to give back as much as I can. I'm gonna try to give. My cup is so full, brother, that I'm constantly trying to give back. And if you ask around the real estate community in the past 3 years, brother, I've had the honor and the privilege of helping thousands of people create seven-figure companies across the country. That's how I made my reputation in this business. I didn't make it because of the 1,000 properties that I flipped and all the money, blah, 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 blah. No, I made it because I was helping so many people achieve their goals. That's how I made a reputation in this business. And man, I'm very grateful for the people that trusted me. You know what I mean?
So that's good. That's amazing. And that's why I tell people, like you said, you had the grit and you had to hustle. By the way, guys, I'm gonna make sure I had the book information in the show notes. So I don't want to gloss over that. We'll make sure we take care of you, Carlos.
Absolutely.
But guys, you got to remember, if you don't have the answers, It's because you're not asking the right questions to the right people.
Boom.
People are out here, they're willing to answer those questions for you. Like Carlos, like me, like other guys. You don't have to jump out there and spend $50,000 to get one question answered. You just got to make sure you're asking the right questions to the right people. Boom. And you'll get those answers.
Back to that question where you were saying, brother, it's like so many people, and I get it. It's fear. It's like analysis paralysis.
Yep.
And that's the thing. What I want people to understand is like, knowledge isn't power. It's literally the implementation of that knowledge that gives you the power.
There it is.
I want people to understand that unless you're willing to implement and execute, learning everything, reading this book will not matter. You read this book, just like I read that book back in the day, okay? Mm-hmm. You read this book and you start, okay, what? I'm going to put together a plan for this week. I'm going to knock on this many doors. I'm going to pull this list. Yep. I'm going to put out these bandit signs. I'm going to make these cold calls. See, that's what's going to get you forward. That's what's going to get you moving forward. So stop thinking and start doing.
There you go, guys. You hear that? Those are some key words right there. You can read as much as you want, but if you don't do anything with it, it's useless. It's useless knowledge. And that's what people do. They get all of this knowledge just to say that they know. There's tons of people that I talk to. They can tell me about the wholesale process up and down, but then you ask them, okay, how many deals have you closed? Well, I'm doing this. I need this. Just, you got people like Carlos out there that's telling you the game, that's telling you what to do. Just do it. Just get out there and do it. That's all you got to do. So Carlos, you got this first deal closed. You made that happen, man. You took that money and you reinvested it. Tell me about when you really took off. Tell me about the power of partnerships. And
I'll tell you where my company exploded.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
You ready?
Yep.
All right. November of 2016, I came across this 27 single family residence portfolio from a company called SVN. It's a broker, real estate broker. 27 properties. I didn't have the money to buy them. But I'll tell you what, I put $100,000 of my own money in non-refundable earnest. Okay.
Wow.
You understand that?
That's a risk.
Yeah.
Huge risk. Huge risk.
Brother, when I tell you that I've expanded my tolerance for risk these past couple of years, think about that. November of 2016, I put $100,000 down to just take a shot.
Wow.
I knew that I couldn't close on these deals, but I knew that I could find somebody that could.
Right.
So
right.
I put the $100K. I'm like, oh man, they're not going to give that back. So I better
make it happen.
According to the contract. So, man, I took those 27 properties. I walked every single property. I took videos. I took pictures. I put them in a spreadsheet, and I started shopping them to some big people in the state. And I found one buyer that took all 27 properties. And guess what? Not only did I get my $100,000 back, but I got $250,000 in net earnings off that one deal.
There you go.
That propelled everything. Better systems, better processes, more marketing. I started hiring March of 2017. I started building a company. But I had to, what did I have to do to get there? I had to work my ass off, save money, and then risk money, and then bet on myself again, and then make it happen. Have I ever flipped 27 properties in one transaction? No, I never have up to that point. So that's what propelled my company, brother. After that, I never looked back. Now it's funny, 2017, 18, 19, 2020, I spent over just in marketing, not payroll, not overhead expenses. I spent over $1 million each year in marketing, cold calling, direct mail, search engine optimization, pay-per-click. I did a little bit of RVM and SBM from 17 to 2020 before it got completely oversaturated. So, brother, when I tell you that move there propelled me, brother, think about it. I started spending $1 million every year since then. So I'm very blessed, man. After that, I never looked back. And then what I did was when I started making all this money, because I was getting a 4 to 6x ROI on my marketing dollars every single year. So I'm like, man, I got all this cash. You got all this cash. What do? I started building other companies. I don't know if this, but I have 27 companies. I literally, brother, I have in different sectors, solar, medical, software, education. I got all these companies all across different sectors and different industries. But why? Because I took all that money and I'm like, I'm not gonna put all my eggs in one basket.
Yep.
And then I just started diversifying my earnings.
There you go. That's very smart. And I mean, because you never know, real estate goes in cycles. Like right now, we're up at a high cycle. Eventually it's going to go down. But you said, I'm going to put this cash and I'm going to deploy it and I'm going to make this money work for me, not just in real estate, but in all of these other sectors. And that way it can bring some capital back to me. So Absolutely. Tell me, Carlos, you haven't been doing all of this by yourself. You had to build a team. Tell me about your strategic partnerships and how did you find these partners?
Well, I have a business partner who is a left hemisphere thinker. I'm a right brain thinker. He's a left brain thinker. He's an analytical person, numerical person. Man, this guy, ex-army, ex-military. He's a refugee from Iraq. He was a Catholic in Iraq. He was persecuted by people out there. And he became my business partner. We're actually 50-50 partners in 27 companies. He's actually working on 4 softwares as we speak. This man works day and night on softwares that we're going to be launching. One of these softwares, brother, is going to get us to that 9-figure mark. We're already 8-figure. We're already an 8-figure organization. One of those 4 softwares, mark my words, is going to get us to the 9-figure mark in the next 24 months. So no, my business partner, I love him. He completes me. He's the yin to my yang. And then, but on my side, I started, because of my corporate background, because of my management background, I started hiring, I started training, I started developing, I started putting leaders into place. I started creating departments. Like my real estate, that's what, when you come check out my operation, I bought that building, by the way. I bought that building for $2 million, put about $150K in renovations, and I own my own building now. I used to pay rent for a few years. So when you come down, I'll show you the different departments. My admin department has my transaction coordinator, my COO, my CFO, and then I got my sales director who oversees my acquisition salespeople. And then I got my disposition department that does disposition, just wholesale deals. And then I got my asset management department that does all my fix and flips and all my buy and hold. So you'll see, man, it's a beautiful machine, bro.
That's good. And that's the thing, man, is really developing the business and putting those pieces together and knowing that you have to have strong people around you. Some of the things that people fail to realize is when you're a leader, you have to develop other leaders. Not just develop people, but you need to develop other leaders. That way they can run those departments and they're not, hey, Carlos, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? They know that they can, right. They know that they can pull the trigger and make those wise decisions. And you have the confidence in them to make those.
I learned that from the corporate. I'm so grateful. The way, like, in my life, like, I didn't go to college, man, right? Like, where did I learn about KPIs and management and hiring? Like, where? Like corporate, the same place that I felt like I didn't want to be there at some point. Like, don't get me wrong, after like 7 years, I was like, okay, what's going on here? When you hit your ceiling.
Yep.
But brother, I learned so much from the from my corporate history, background. So I'm very grateful for that. I mean, God literally designed my life the way exactly as it should have been, because I wouldn't have 27 companies if I didn't develop all those skill sets from working in a corporate background.
And what's tripped out about it, Carlos, is, and that's the way God works in the majority of us. We're in this position where we're like, okay, we don't know why we're here. We know it's time to go. But when you're in that position, you still have to learn and you have to glean from the things that are around you. So although you're looking, and I'm talking specifically to the people that's listening that may be working and they feel that it's time for me to leave, it's time for me to go, you need to observe your surroundings, because you're there for a purpose. You're there for a reason. And you want to make sure you pull out of there and give into there what you need before you transition to the next stage of your life. Like you said, Carlos, you were like, okay, it's time for me to go from corporate, but you learned while you were there, you learned KPIs, how to develop SOPs, how to watch the ROI of a product or product lifestyle and everything like that. So, or product life cycle. So you learn that from corporate. You wouldn't have known that if you would have just jumped from coming straight from Mexico, jumped right into the business.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. This is a milestone for me. There's a magazine in London. It's called Expert Profile. Expert Profile.
Oh wow, there you go on the cover,
brother. Huh? This is in London.
International.
Oh, a little Mexican illegal kid is look at this. Be inspired by Carlos. Bread rolls to Rolls Royce, and brother, they have my whole my story in there, and I'm so grateful, man. Like these people reached out to me, brother, and I'm so grateful. Watch this. You're gonna, man. At one point, I'm gonna actually frame this thing for my mother. By the way, I think she would actually love this thing. But I'll find the article and then I'll show it. Oh, there it is. Look at this. Look at that. So there's like me in front of my. That's where I used to pay rent, the Copper Point building. But
okay,
that's my card. And look at this. That's my grandfather. That's my grandmother. That's my brother, and that's me. And that's in their Mexico house.
Yeah, so your story is an inspiration, man, to others. Absolute inspiration to others. But again, you guys, you can read Carlos' story, you can watch Carlos' life, but if you don't do the things that Carlos do, you won't get there. So you got to take the risk. You got to spend the $2,500. You got to get out there and grind and drop the 2,400 bandit signs. You got to take that $100,000 risk. You can't play small ball and think you're going to get to the big leagues.
No, sir. No, sir. You're absolutely right, man. I interviewed him. You probably know this guy. His name is Grant Cardone, and interviewed him July of 2019. He was on my podcast, and I interviewed him. And the one takeaway that I got from him, it wasn't like his leadership, his spirituality, his family life. No, he's like, man, I wish I would have stopped thinking so small so much sooner. That's exactly what you just said. He said I was over here selling. At first he was like selling like car sales like sales training, and it's like then he went into like I think single family residence and education and all that. Then he created a fund, like $1 billion fund, because of the brand he blew up. He created a fund, and then he started now acquiring huge assets, like multi-million dollar assets. And then he, bought his jet and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm done playing small for the rest of my life. And I already thought I never was a guy who played small, but now I'm like, okay, let's get to the big leagues. So
it was the exposure. It was the exposure. You're in that area where you say, okay, I'm the big fish in this pond. I need to go to another pond where
I need to go to the Pacific Ocean
so I can see what the big players are doing. That way I can hone my game, craft my game, so I can now elevate myself to another level.
Absolutely, brother. You can't see the forest from the trees. Like if you're just in your little bubble, if you're not moving around with the right people that inspire you to get to that next level, then guess what? You're probably going to stay there. And that's another thing that I've learned, man. Like if you defend your limitations, like, I'm okay where I'm at. If you defend your limitations, you get to keep them.
Yep.
Think about that, okay? So I want people out there to just be limitless, man. By the way, I got a podcast coming out. It's called Limitless. Once my studio's built downstairs, man, I can't wait to have my podcast. I was on the Andy Frisella podcast in October, and then I was on the W.L.E.R.E podcast about 2 months ago. And they inspired me to launch my own podcast.
Yeah, man, do it.
You got your podcast here. It's like I can't wait to. Yeah, I want to. Yeah. I love it, man. For sure, I love these things.
People don't I never told anybody this, and I'm gonna share it with you. But I was supposed to do this podcast about 4 years ago, and I had these self limitations. Well, who's gonna want to get on it? Who's gonna want to talk to me? Who am I? What are you doing? You're not doing $4 or $5 million in transactions. Who's gonna want to talk to me? And then I just said, I made up my mind, and I said, I'm just going to do it. I don't care if I'm on here talking to myself, but there may be one person out there that I may say that may inspire somebody to do something. And that's what it's all about. It's about giving and giving back, man. And that the foundation of that.
I love, brother, that you had the courage to overcome, that fear and those limitations. You had the courage to do that. And therefore to the victor goes the spoils. You know what I mean?
Yep. So we're going to take a brief break real quick, Carlos. And when we come back, we want to talk about virtual wholesaling and how you kind of strategically built your team in order to do that. So guys, we'll be right back. Hear a word from our sponsors, and I'll come right back with Carlos Reyes.
Finding real estate deals can be a challenge, but with Batch Leads, it doesn't have to be. Batch Leads has created a one-stop solution for all your real estate needs, so you can find more sellers, close more deals, and maximize revenue. Batch Leads offers a comprehensive suite of lead generating tools that cover text messaging, skip tracing, finding comps, and much more. Batch Leads help you simplify, manage, and organize all your data in one place. Batch will help you stack your lists and identify properties that appear on multiple lists and have multiple distress indicators. These sellers are likely to be highly motivated and eager to sell. Get the most powerful and complete lead generation platform in the industry. Locate sellers, buyers, and lenders nationwide in seconds. Go to batchlead.io and use promo code WeLoveEquity.
All right, Carlos, we are back, man. So guys, we're here with Carlos Reyes from All In Nation, based right here out of sunny Phoenix, Arizona. He's in Glendale. And speaking with Carlos, just to give you guys a quick little backstory, Carlos was an immigrant from Mexico, came over to the States, and got right to work. Nothing else said about that. Just got right to work, even from a little kid, hustling, grinding, and we respect that grind. And that's the reason why I have Carlos here on the show. So, Carlos, you've been doing some amazing things. I want to talk and I want to share with the people about virtual wholesaling. I know you were doing quite a few things here in Arizona. Why did you launch out into other markets?
In 2016, I opened up my first virtual market, which was Las Vegas, Nevada. And man, it was one of the best things I ever did. I was intimidated by some of the people that were here. Mm-hmm. At that time, there was some heavy hitters and heavy spenders in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep.
Remember when I told you, I said, hey man, I spent $7,500 on pay-per-click. There was people that were spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month on pay-per-click. So I was like, okay, well, where can I go and do a little damage? So man, I expanded over to Vegas. And it's funny, that first month I landed a deal that paid us like $92,000 net. A wholesale, by the way, wholesale.
So how did that expansion work? Did you already have people in Las Vegas?
No, I'll tell you the way I did it. Yep. I'll tell you what not to do. I'll tell you what I did that I shouldn't have done. Thank God I've learned very quickly. I didn't know. I didn't have a title agency. I didn't have an infrastructure in Vegas. I didn't have a title agency. I didn't have boots on the ground. I didn't have access to MLS, anything like that. So I ventured off. I did some joint ventures with like a few wholesalers there. Okay. And I was paying them 50% just to go get a contract signed. Oh. Like I'm doing everything over the phone, and then I'm paying them 50% just to go get a contract signed. Thank God I stopped that before I landed this huge deal. I did that on a $20,000 deal, so there goes $10K for them, $10K for me. I did that on a $17,000 mobile home, so there was whatever half of that was, right, and then half for me. And then I'm like, I can't keep paying these people 50% just for them to go and have them sign on the. Bro, again, don't make these mistakes. So I got smarter and I started building an infrastructure. I started going to WeGoLook.com, 123notary.com, and they started doing the heavy lifting for me as far as like pictures and contracts. And I got with the right title agency, Janine, over in Vegas at WFG Title. And it just like, I mean, I built an infrastructure. And now I'm actually fixing and flipping in Las Vegas. There's 3 states that I actually fix and flip. That's Vegas or Nevada, Arizona, and California. I'm fixing it. Brother, I'm to the point where I have project managers in those states. I have the project managers handle the subs. I got MLS access. I got listing realtors. I got great title people. Like my infrastructure is set. Right. But I learned this the hard way. I mean, it cost me a lot of money to learn this.
I sympathize with you. When I went virtual and I went to one of my virtual markets, same exact mistake. I was doing all of the heavy lifting on the phone. I'm talking, I'm negotiating, everything like that. And the only thing I did was have somebody to dispose the properties, and they were taking 50%. 50%. Only thing you're doing is opening up the door, letting buyers in, you bring in the buyers and signing an assignment agreement. 50 freaking percent.
How much money my disposition managers make? 3%.
See,
my dispo managers make 3%. And they actually dispo now because I wholesale nationwide. I fix and flip in the Southwest region, but I wholesale nationwide. I got properties in New Jersey, Maryland, Columbus, Memphis, and we're disposition, North Carolina, we're dispositioning wholesale wise everywhere. And we're not giving up 50%. I'm paying 3% to my dispo guy. I give him a $3,000 base salary plus 3% of every deal. So you see how much more convenient that is, right?
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk to you more about that because we are expanding into other markets, and that's one of the things that we're looking at is kind of scaling down and streamlining everything. And yeah, one of the things as we go look is what we're going to be using. So Carlos, so tell me, now you're doing these virtual wholesale deals across the country. You're doing all of this stuff. How did you build that team for those people in those other markets and things like that?
You mean on my mentorship?
However you're doing it. So if you're doing a deal in Cleveland.
Okay. If I'm doing a deal in Cleveland, well, remember I have a national pay-per-click campaign.
Okay.
And I have acquisition managers and I have disposition managers. So all we need in Cleveland are two things: boots on the ground, which I already told you, wegolook.com, 123norrie.com, or a respected, honest realtor, maybe a professional out there, but not wholesalers, and unless you have friends out there. So all you need, now that I built my team and I have my headquarters and my guys are on the phone nationally now, boots on the ground, solid title agency. Those are the two biggest things. And then obviously on the dispo side, you got to have the cash buyers there. And if anybody's looking to get cash buyers nationwide, cashbuyersplus.com, cashbuyersplus.com, you can download thousands of names, emails, and phone numbers of cash transactions in those markets. So it's a beautiful, well-oiled machine now, thank God.
So there you go, guys. So if you're saying, hey, my market is too saturated, or if you're thinking that your market is too saturated and you want to go virtual, there you go. Carlos just kind of laid out the plan for you with a couple of resources that you can use in order to make that happen. So Carlos, kind of wrapping up here, man, give us an introduction about your educational platform and program. How can people be involved? And just kind of give us some backstory about that.
Well, I started All In Nation back in 2018. And the inspiration came from, I paid $3,000 to go to an event out in San Francisco. And I was the biggest dog in that room. And I was like, wait a minute. I just paid $3K to, I came here, I saw everybody present, and then I presented, and I was spending more on marketing than some people were making a year. So I was like, well, then why don't I just throw my event? Then I booked the Hyatt in North Scottsdale, and it was a very high level. It was it wasn't like a newbie event. It was like very high level people that were already doing deals but wanted to build teams. They wanted the blueprint on how to actually structure companies the way I have mine. And I just started giving out the blueprint, man. I'm one of the first guys. I can't think of anybody else that was really giving the game away. I didn't start offering mentorship till late 2019, and I was doing events. I had already done about 4 to 6 events, high level events with no mentorship, because I'm a businessman. I wasn't I'll give the game away over 2 days, but I don't got time to coach you. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I evolved, and just like we did with every other company, we structured it, infrastructure and the systems and the processes and the personnel. And then now I have the capacity to not only throw events, but actually help other people through education, through mentorship and coaching, help other people build their 7-figure operation. And I mean, if you ask around, brother, it's a beautiful thing. I've been able, man, my first ever mentee, his name is Keith. You should probably have him on your podcast. This guy's a monster out now. Keith Everett, Real Estate Diddy, Keith Everett. They do several million in Alabama, and they do Birmingham, Huntsville, and Atlanta, Georgia. All right, so highly recommend you put this man on, man. He was the first guy to ever say, "What, Carlos? I've been to 2 of your events. I want you as my mentor." And then he paid me X amount of money, And then we built a 7-figure company with him. So now he has AlabamaCashOffer.com. So after that, like, this is what what people don't understand, brother, is like, the people that invested in me, like, that means the world to me. That means the world to me because I helped them grow, but they helped me grow.
Yeah.
They helped me grow. And then every time, like, if I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like teaching other people how to build these companies, well, guess what? I've become surgical. I become like, I'm like, okay, where are we at? Your goal this month is 5 deals, $100,000. Then we do like reverse engineering. We review KPIs on marketing. We review KPIs on performance and productivity from the personnel side. And we just look at everything. We look at everything. We look at the data. We look at the marketing channels and everything. What's effective? Where are we getting the ROI? I've done so many of these now that I'm like, I can just look into somebody's business and completely take it down and put it all together in a matter of an hour or two. So now now I actually enjoy coaching. I didn't a lot back then, but I do now. I do now because think of me as like the Bill Belichick, like play by play. I'm calling the plays, and they're like the Tom Brady's, and I mean, like they're executing.
They just have to execute.
Yep. They're the athletes. They're spending the money on the marketing and they're executing on the conversion side.
Sweet. So at the end here, I'm gonna get your contact information so people can reach out to you if they want to know more about what you're offering. So right now, Carlos, we're gonna put you answer these questions for me as quick as possible, but you can elaborate some. So starting over, what would you do differently if you would do anything different?
I would have hired a mentor. Man, brother, I didn't hire my first mentor till about 4 or 5 years in the business. I would have hired a mentor, but I will say this: you have to vet, thoroughly vet the person. And I have so many ex-fortune builders that come to me. Before Terry Thayer gave me $50,000, guess what he did? He flew into my office. You see what he flew into my office. Hey, I'm in town. Can I stop by? Yeah, sure. And he flew. And Terry Thayer, another guy you should probably at some point interview. This guy's a monster. He has a huge community from fortune builders, actually. So anyway, he flies into my office, him and his wife, and he's like, "Okay, I've seen enough. How much?" I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "No." And brother, I didn't even take him under my wing for a few months. Like, he was like pounding me. This guy he was crushing it in real estate. Like, he was a developer for 20 years, fix and flipper for 20 years, went through 2 recessions. And he's like, I want to know how to actually get to these off-market discounted properties so I can then choose my exit strategy. If I want to fix and flip it, I'll fix and flip it. If I want to wholesale, but he flew to my office, looked at what I had going on, and then he said, I need you to coach me. So I would hire a mentor a lot sooner, but I would vet the hell out of them, not only on the business side, but I would also vet on like what's behind what kind of person is this behind the curtain. So that's what I would do differently for sure.
Okay. All right. Next, what is one characteristic you believe every high producing investor should have?
Man, I'm gonna say leadership. Leadership. I would not be able to scale the way that I've scaled, multiple companies if people didn't believe in me. If I didn't lead by example and I didn't empower and encourage other people, how can I ever grow companies? Gotcha. I can't. One person can't do 27 companies. True. I mean, no way, right? So that's the one thing that I feel like. Don't get me wrong. There's so many personality traits that you should have. But leadership is definitely up there with anything else.
Okay. Sounds good. So in parting, Carlos, what words of encouragement could you tell someone that's either just getting started or someone that's doing 3, 4, 5 deals a month and they say, but I'm ready to take it to the next level?
Okay. Overcome the fear of investing money. Overcome the fear. Start thinking of marketing as an investment, not an expense. Start thinking of people, okay? The people that you're going to hire to help you grow this, start thinking of them as an investment, not an expense. That's what I would strongly encourage people out there right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you're spot on. There's so many people have a closed fist when it comes to spending money. But if you look at
then they
never grow. If you look at that money spent as investments, if you look at it as seeds that's going to that's going to produce a fruit, and then that fruit is going to produce more. I mean, that tree is going to produce more fruit. Then you just got, guys, you just got to change the perspective.
Brother, I told you earlier, I said, hey, why do I spend so much money on marketing? Because for every dollar I spend, I get 4 to 6 back.
Yep.
Like what? How does that, that's logical. I spend $1 and I get 4 to 6 back. Is that an expense or an investment?
Investment.
Exactly.
Investment. And actually, you will be doing yourself a detriment and your country your company a detriment if you don't spend that marketing money.
You'll never grow.
Carlos, man, I really appreciate it. I know the people, they appreciate it. How can we reach you? What's your IG? Where do you want people to go to find you?
Brother, there's two things. One, Carlos Reyes on Instagram. I'm one of the few Mexicans out there that has like a little blue check mark.
Okay.
Yeah, just look at Carlos Reyes and there's a little blue check mark. That's me. That's so don't. There might be multiple accounts, but that's me. And just, man, I'm always in my direct messages. I'm always like, brother, the one thing I'll never let go of because of where I come from and everything I've been through, I'm always going to be a servant of the people. I'm never going to, when I have my private jet here in, 2 to 3 years, it's not going to matter. Like I'm nothing. Like I'm nobody. I'm saying, like, I will always serve and love the people, bro. Always.
Well, Carlos, I appreciate your level of humility, man, and your level of service to the people and to the real estate community. I really applaud you for that, because there are some people that can come off as arrogant, boastful, and things like that. But when I follow you on Facebook Live or Instagrams, things like that, you're being completely humbled and showing integrity in every message that you put out. So
thank you, brother.
I appreciate that, man. And I'll award you for that, because as a co-real estate investor, as a co-educator, our names are only going to go as far as our integrity allow us to go. So, man, big ups. Kudos to you on that.
One thing that I learned, so when I was starting in this game, I was reaching out to like a lot of big dogs in this game, and nobody would give me the time or the day. But there was one person, okay, Sean from Rock Solid Investments. I don't even know if the guy's even around anymore, but he gave me 15 minutes in between meetings. I remember this. He said, he's like, biggest piece of advice that I can give you, Carlos. And by the way, I hadn't even done one deal by then. He says, this is a reputation business. Literally, like he's like, real estate's a reputation business. And I was like, what does that even mean? It didn't make sense to me until I started like growing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely spot on, brother. Reputation is everything in this business.
Yep. So guys, Carlos, thank you for spending this hour with us, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Guys, so remember, I'm going to have all of Carlos' contact information, IG, his book, all in content, how you can reach them. So you can reach out to him, get more words of wisdom from a person that's doing this with humility and integrity. So Carlos, thank you again. I appreciate it. And man, you have a fabulous, fabulous day.
God bless you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys, that was Carlos Reyes from the All In Nation. Really good guy, really authentic guy. Definitely gave you some hardcore gems and some things for you to work on immediately. But one of the things that stuck out to me most about Carlos was that whole mindset piece, making sure that you take the opportunities that are presented before you, because they will come. You have to be able to identify those opportunities and take those opportunities. Don't look at the surroundings and the negativity around you. Jump out there and definitely take action on what you need to do. So if you set a goal to talk to 50 people in a week, make sure you get on the phone, make sure you talk to those 50 people. If you're doing direct mail, get that direct mail, get it out there. You have to take massive action in order to get where you want to go. So guys, just want to appreciate you once again for being here with us. This is the We Love Equity Real Estate Show. I have some fabulous announcements that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks in regards to how you can help me and work with me, and how I can help you and work with you. So that information will be coming out shortly here. And don't forget, all of the information that Carlos shared is going to be in the show notes below. So make sure you go there and get that information. All right, guys. Always, always, always remember to enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to today's show. I picked up some great actionable items, and I'm sure you did as well. If so, let me know. You can always reach me via social media at facebook.com/MRCSMaloney, Twitter at MRCSMaloney, and of course, IG at MRCSMaloney. You can also always reach me via email at mmaloney@equityri.com. Make sure you reach out to our guests as well. You can always find their contact information in the show notes below. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Join the family. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we tell if we're providing you with what you need for your journey. If there's someone you would like for me to interview, or if there's a subject matter you would like for me to cover, please let me know. Finally, if you're looking for additional information about real estate investing, go to equityrealestateblog.com. Also, youtube.com/Marcus Maloney. Until next time, family, always enjoy the journey.